Were you here looking for a major cringe binge? Well, I'm glad you came to the right spot. And the right spot you did. Because if a cringe binge is what you want, a cringe binge is what you're going to get. In today's video, we're going to continue our reading of this real jewel right here. Hello, Sofa Squad, and welcome back to the sofa. Sofa's back there. Roscoe's still on it. He's still sleeping. My name's Paul. I'm in front of it. I'm sleeping with my eyes open, but I'm here. I hope y'all are doing well. Now, like I said in the very beginning, we're going to be continuing our cringe binge into Jodi's book. Really what we're doing here is we're trying to get insight into the way, God help me, her mind works. Her story, all this kind of stuff and whatnot. And this was one of the books. I have another one sitting right here that we're going to do after this. And so that's what we're doing. So what I'll do is I'll read through it. I'll make commentary along the way. This will be broken up. This is part 2 if you're watching it. So go back to part 1. Eventually we will break these into one big long video. But I'm not going to lie, y'all. I just can only read so much. I can only read so much of this, y'all. It's that bad. It's that cringy. It's that angering. It's just knowing what we know now about the crime she did and seeing the hypocrisy in this and the blasphemy and the whatever you want to call it, okay? I can only take so much of it is what I'm saying. My body starts to reject it, and I do what Roscoe's doing back there. So let's go ahead and jump in. We are going to start here. This is, I guess, part of chapter 2, but we're at attributes of connection. So connection is a verb. Connection must be actively chosen to animate in your life. The more you witness and experience examples of connection, the more you will be able to recognize its voice, behaviors, beliefs, and outcomes, and choose those characteristics in your life. When someone is connected, it is very apparent. You can't miss it with your eyes or ears, and especially with your heart. Now, they look and sound like people who are tender, aware, deliberate, and validating. All the things that she is not, right? They have knowledge and awareness of their words and behavior and are conscious of the congruence of both. They are honest and responsible for their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. They are vulnerable with their emotions and are verbally and emotionally expressive. Connected people take ownership for their choices and hold themselves appropriately accountable, repenting if necessary, and changing their behavior. They are curious about comments made by others, and rather than make assumptions or jump to conclusions, they gather accurate and truthful information and validate those who are sharing that information. Again, none of the things that she is, right? Connected people understand that creating, articulating, and holding boundaries is one of the greatest indicators of self-love. They lovingly, please hold, we're turning the page, acknowledge that others' boundaries are worthy of respect. Their words and behaviors are respect and compassionate towards everyone they interact with. Although not every interaction is pleasant, all involved acknowledge a sense of safety and trust and are treated fairly and justly. A person who is connected is loved by others and loves others, whether they know them intimately or casually. It is a powerful experience to be affected by a connected person, and even more so to be a connected person. What a rare jewel to know someone who can conduct themselves in peace and integrity. My dear friend Pam is one of those gems. Pam. I think this is the Pam that, is involved in the case. Or, I'm saying I had the kids over. She is the epitome of connection. I have known her for many years, and she has given me evidence of safety that tells me that I will be heard regardless of what I share with her. She has the ability to separate my choices and behaviors from my divine identity by offering me validation and inviting me into the truth. As I became more conscious of the power of truth and the animation of its principles during my own personal journey to peace, I realized that my soul and mind were becoming more calm and steady. I also became very aware that fear was not such a constant companion. I was more willing to be aware of what I was thinking and to be responsible to frame my thoughts in truth rather than distortion, which led me to living the characteristics of connection. If you desire to choose a connected life, you will need to understand that you are responsible for knowing what is motivating you at all times. There are only 2 outcomes of each choice, either in truth or distortion. Every choice you make is either in truth or distortion. You must choose in truth, honesty, responsibility, humility, in order to have the outcomes of connection. If you choose in distortion, you will have the outcomes of disconnection. Either choice is not personal to you. Rather, it follows the internal laws of choice and outcome. When you choose truth, notice that you develop these attributes of a connection, which are listed below. Now, before we get into the attributes, I mean, again, how many times she used the word truth in that? So complicated. Like, I mean, my God, it's like, these are the kind of people that can't just like go from point A to B and do something. They have to make it this complicated, a BS, like to get through the day, right? And the clincher of it is that if you were to go down this path, I'm like, y'all live in complete distortion. Like, not reality, right? At all. So let's get into the things that she lists off. They're just kind of like this with paragraphs here. So, openness. I am transparent and accessible. I share my thoughts, feelings, and behaviors with others, and I desire for others to share with me. I do not keep secrets. I do not manipulate. I mean, that's it. Give me my damn money back, right? I do not fear what others think. I am boundaried. I am forthcoming with my thoughts and feelings. Oh, God, she's going to give us a damn example. Oh, my God. See, this is what I'm talking about. I'm 2 pages in and it's already killing me. Example. After a fall in her home, an 87-year-old woman was told that it was not safe for her to live alone any longer. She was devastated and became visibly angry and shared how she had lived for 80 years without additional assistance. While she knows that she is in need of additional support, she is also upset that her body is not as strong as it used to be. She is open to accepting the assistance offered. Then the next thing we move to is generosity. I am thoughtful and open emotionally and spiritually. I mean, again, give me my money back. This is a complete lie. This is fiction, right? I am willing to give time, energy, and charity to myself and to others. My attitude is supportive and gracious, yet I give only what I am able to without hidden motives. I do not give because I feel like I should. I give genuinely because I am emotionally and spiritually available. Oh, for the love of God, it's another example. Oh my God, please, Lord, be with me. A single mother who is in graduate school and holds down a full-time job heard from her girlfriend about a local hospice center where many of the residents were without families and alone over the holiday season. She felt a tug in her heart to share her joy and connection with others in need. She looked at her schedule and discussed with her children how sad it would be to be alone when leaving this world. They all agreed to meet up at the hospice center on Friday to sing Christmas carols to the patients who were alone during the holiday season. I mean, and that is sweet and nice and everything. I mean, I get that, but I do not see Jodi ever doing something like this, right? Anyway, let's just keep going. Consciousness. I pay attention to myself, others, and my environment. I am spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally awake and aware of what is going on within myself and those around me. I ask curious questions of myself and others to know what I and others think, feel, and need. Example. A woman approached me in the hallway at church and asked if I had a moment to talk. She shared about her son and his many destructive decisions, one of which was involvement with drugs. She was overwhelmed with grief. She then stated, "He has asked me if he can live with me," she continued. "I respect your counsel, and I am wondering if you would direct me as to how to hold this and what to do." I already knew my answer, and I was conscious of what she needed to hear, yet I also knew she needed validation and thoughtful questions posed to her so she felt heard and understood. Now we're moving on to understanding. I make continuous and concerted effort to recognize and comprehend why I and others behave as we do, rather than simply becoming judgmental or reactionary and misinterpreting language, feelings, and behaviors. I mean, y'all, I cannot get through one line without rolling my damn eyes out of the back of my head. I mean, literally, this is the thing that completely angers me about people like this, and I'm sorry, we just have to take a moment. Okay, we gotta have a moment, y'all. They project all of their stuff onto other people and excuse all of their own issues and behaviors away and project it onto others and then condemn said others for it. And they have no capabilities of self-reflection to understand any differently. So it's like they get away with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, in my mind, even though Jodi is in prison now, it's like she gets away with it to me because she doesn't believe she did anything wrong. It's everyone else. Does that make sense? Like, in her world, she is twisted to be like, well, I'm persecuted. I've been sent to the prisons to do my bidding. You know, that's the Lord's work for me. You know what I'm saying? And like, so in her world, it's like she's still the victim. And so therefore, to me, she doesn't feel the true wrath of her own actions, you know, and her evilness, right? Okay, sorry. I had to go out. That's the thing with y'all. This kind of stuff right here, I'm sorry, y'all. I can't just read through it, right? I have to speak on it. Okay, let's keep going. I am curious about myself and others and assess for truth and distortion in perceptions, words, and actions. I ask questions of myself and others to understand our perceptions. I strive to validate my own experiences and the experiences of others. Example. My God, help me, Lord. Okay. I remember being on the other side of someone's understanding. I was working with an attorney as a result of being accused of something I had not done. Y'all, it's like she just gives me the material. Let me brace myself. I mean, this is obviously not about the children, but God knows one of the countless other crimes she's been accused of. I was devastated by the allegations and blatant lies that were being told about me, my actions, and more importantly, my character. This is what I'm literally, y'all. The thing I just said, this is actual living proof of it right after I said it, okay? For months, my attorney played a dual role on my behalf as he sat with me physically and emotionally and listened to the reality of the story and the inevitable pain I was experiencing as a result of a person's deliberate desire to attack and harm me. He validated me and asked curious questions and was sincerely interested in how this case was affecting me. It was a generous gift from his heart. I wonder if this is the same attorney she's had and was on the phone with the day that the children were discovered. Okay, the next thing is empathy. I mean, yeah. Now, if I can make it through this chapter, y'all, it's literally it's that upsetting, y'all. I'm gonna have to find some kind of humor in it because it's literally pissing me off this badly, okay? I should not get this upset about it, right? I should not. This says more about me than it does anything else, and I'm letting it upset me like this, okay? Let's keep going. So empathy. I feel deeply about the emotional experiences of myself and others. I am vulnerable and put myself in their shoes as I look for opportunities to understand and emotionally connect. I develop the skill set of creating insight into others' perceptions and how they process those perceptions, thoughts, either in truth or distortion. I validate myself and others and choose to perceive my experiences in truth so I stay in reality. I am damn near scared to read the example. I'm scared, y'all. This one's going to do me in. I need Roscoe, go fetch the blood pressure medicine. Go fetch it, y'all. I'm scared to read it, y'all. I'm not lying. Okay, so example. Okay, that's the next thing. The first sentence is going to take you out. He's gonna take you out. My chosen career path has offered me the sacred opportunity to sit with people and hear their journeys, and everyone has one. I sit for hours and listen to the stories of pain, such as wayward children affecting parents and siblings, others being affected by someone's choices to act selfishly, and random acts of tragedy that no one is culpable for. I feel deeply as I listen closely to their words and ask questions about their meanings, so I can best understand their feelings and validate them without having to agree if I see things differently. I mean, she has zero empathy, okay? But again, this is what these type people do. They project all of this BS onto everyone around them, and they are not capable of it themselves, but they are so hardcore to teach others. This is the part about this personality type that literally just gets under my skin to such a degree I cannot get you there. And then the whole thing, well, my chosen career path, I have to listen to all this stuff about people, and I'm a victim in that way too. And you're just like, how did she get through the day? This was somebody who, y'all, was backed by this church, who was like this prominent figure that put out there, oh, Jodi. This was her. Shocking. So on that note, the next thing is validation. I seek opportunities to share with others through verbal and nonverbal communication that I see them, hear them, understand them. Inside of that understanding of validation, I don't necessarily agree with all their perceptions, feelings, or actions, yet I can acknowledge that they are experiencing what they are choosing to perceive. I would wonder if she would cast the same judgment on herself. I can acknowledge that they are experiencing what they are choosing to perceive. Are they able to turn, is she and Ruby able to turn that around to their own selves? Example. Imagine your daughter is dating a young man for 2 months and comes to you for your support and your blessing for their marriage in 4 weeks. In the spirit of validation, you set your thoughts and feelings aside for the moment and become curious about what she is perceiving and feeling. You say things like, "Wow, you sound really happy. What are your thoughts about this event?" Or, "Okay, let me get caught up here. Help me understand." Or, "You seem sure about this. Talk to me some about blank." Validation is to offer someone acknowledgement that they are feeling and experiencing things the way they are. In reality, they may be in distortion, which gives you clarity to not agree with their experience. Vulnerability. I am willing to show and share my pain, weaknesses, limitations, and imperfections with myself and with others when it is emotionally safe to do so. Vulnerability is also my willingness to accept experiences as they present and not exit out of them into distortion and control. Example. The sharing of my story at the beginning of this book was my offering of being vulnerable with you as a reader. I want you to know that I understand that life offers us experience, and some of those experiences can invite us into pain. Living is risky. We all are choosing constantly, and the outcomes of those choices affect us and others in favorable and not so favorable ways. The challenge is for me to accept and embrace being vulnerable to life and experience and keep my perceptions in the truth rather than in distortion. Don't believe that you can escape the pains of vulnerability by controlling it. You literally can't control being vulnerable. Being vulnerable is living. Okay, curiosity. I am interested in discovering and learning about myself and others. I ask questions of myself and others about motives, meanings, fears, needs, wants, desires, expectations, etc. As I am learning about myself and hold myself accountable, I am additionally thoughtful, interested, and curious about others. Example. I knew a man who was brilliant at being curious. He was so open, vibrant, and eager to understand everything he could about people and life in general. He was often reading all different types of genres and searching for answers to his many questions. The thing that stuck out the most to me was this beautiful individual was that he was happy and joyful. I believe his authentically curious nature protected him from going into a distorted or controlling posture. For the most part, he stayed open to the vicissitudes, I can't say that word, of life and was not ruled by fear or control. He was unique in our world. Forgiveness. I understand that the act of forgiveness is between me and God, and that I am required to forgive all outcomes of choices made, whether my own or others. I am willing to be thoughtful as I engage this process and realize that I must be in truth as I surrender to a power greater than my own. I am beholden to God for the ability to forgive, as I am equally grateful that others will forgive me. Example. While a man was emailing his adulterous relationship, he inadvertently sent the email to his wife. Ouch. And then sat in horror as he realized what he had just done. Within 3 minutes, he was confronted by his wife, who was standing in the doorway of his office, holding her phone with his screen pointed towards him. "What is this?" she asked with a dazed look. 4 years later, she sat in my office, divorced and desperately wanting to forgive him because it was destroying her peace and calm. We spent a year working together, learning, sorting between truth and distortion, validating and surrendering what she could not control. The forgiveness she found was a gift for herself, and it liberated her. It was between her and her maker. Now let's move on to risk. I am open and willing to be vulnerable with myself and others by exposing my human weaknesses, pains, vulnerabilities, and limitations. I share with others. I consciously and deliberately decide what, when, and with whom to share. I know that risking is the only way to create deep, intimate relationships of safety and trust. Risking is the process of sharing myself and seeing if the other person is available to engage in reciprocal vulnerability. Risking is necessary if you desire an intimate, connected relationship with anyone. Example. I met a woman years ago and began the process of getting to know her. We both engaged in peripheral sharing of our stories about life, and then she began to be more willing to risk with me. She told me of her significant emotional pain and how she's not able to surrender it because she doesn't know how. We continued over the next several months talking about her experiences, and I began to risk as well, as I realized she was a woman of integrity, honesty, responsibility, and humility, and boundaries, because we both choose to live our lives in truth rather than distortion. She took time to assess for safety and risked appropriately with one another. We now have a stable, truly loving friendship. I mean, see how complicated she makes something so basic as like a chat over coffee? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so like inundated with these 10-cent words, and it's like, girl, chill, okay? It's not that serious. Okay, so anyways, boundaries. One that she knows nothing of, that shouldn't even be in here, right? Okay, I use words and body language to send messages about who I am and how I will protect myself. Boundaries are the most loving evidence of self-care I can engage in because boundaries share me with others. Boundaries are my responsibility to create, express, and hold. They tell myself and another what I will and will not do, say, think, and believe, etc. in any given situation. Boundaries are much easier to hold and understand when they are measurable, such as giving concrete, factual information to yourself and others. Example: as I arranged to meet a friend for business meeting, she told me, please hold, I will be at your home at 1 p.m. on Friday for lunch. Unfortunately, I will not be able to stay past 3 p.m., and I would really like to help you clean up that mess after we eat. Will that work for you? I responded, 1 p.m. on Friday for lunch works great. I am disappointed that you won't be able to stay past 3 p.m. and I would love some help cleaning up after we eat. Bless you. This is an example of you and another person sharing boundaries with each other. I am sorry. I get it. She's trying to lay it out for a conversation, pretending that this is true. But it's just the way the back and forth seems so wooden, so like not real. Hi, I'm sad you won't be able to stay till 3, but I accept your boundary of that. Like, who talks like that other than some completely broken individual that needs that conversation? You know what I'm saying? Hence, Jodi is what I mean, right? Okay, repentant. Repentance is the acknowledgement in words, emotions, and behaviors that you have chosen to sin, violate your moral code, or act contrary to your belief system, and now desire to change your heart and make reparations for your behaviors. You do not repeat the behaviors again. You are more conscious of the feelings and thoughts that invited you to act contrary to your standards previously. Your emotional system has been overhauled. Heart change. And you have an emotional and physical boundary towards your prior infractions. Example, and it's a big one. Brenda was caught copying down another student's combination and breaking into her locker. This got serious real quick, right? She was observed stealing from her neighbor's locker and sent to the principal's office. Once Brenda was confronted by the evidence, she confessed. She felt horrible for what she had chosen. As a teen, Brenda was more concerned about what her friends would think about her than she was for the violation that she had committed. Brenda was able to make reparations by replacing everything she had stolen from the locker. And as she did this, she became more humble. She spent the next month in a state of guilt, sorrow, and remorse for crossing her moral boundary of stealing. She went to the girl she stole from with a sincere apology for behaving in a dishonest manner. I went to her parents and told them everything she had done that violated her morals. She went to her principal and acknowledged her choices and told him she would do whatever he felt necessary for her to make this right. 10-day suspension. And she spent time serving others as a way to make reparations for her choices to turn away from truth. This experience was a poignant, I can't say that word, one for Brenda. Even today, when I speak with her, she relives the events in a truly honest way. She talks about about how her heart changed as a result of her being asked to take responsibility for the wrong she had done to herself and others. She is very grateful for her opportunity to repent. Okay, very interesting. I wonder if Jodi feels that same way about her own sins she's committed. See, the thing that's different when Jodi talks about this stuff, she's talking about other people taking accountability for things and whatnot, something that her and Ruby do not seem able to do. Now, again, we got that lip service from Rudy in court, but you already know that's not real. She's just giving people what they need to hear to get her to where she needs to go quicker. Now let's move on to surrender. Surrender is a choice to acknowledge and let go of what you are not responsible for. It is a willingness to critique your perceptions and frame them in truth, which states, I am only responsible for my own perceptions, emotions, and actions, and all else I must let go of with compassion. The flip side of surrender is control. There are only two choices to make. You are either an illusion of control, or you have chosen to surrender. There is no other choice. Example, and it's another long one. I was driving my boat back from the hole in the rock at Lake Powell. I was with two girlfriends who were inexperienced boaters and had placed much confidence in my skill set. I had been watching a storm brew and roll across the sky for the last 30 minutes. It was late in the afternoon and we had an hour and a half boat ride back to the dock. My friend Stacy turned around from the bow of the boat and asked, "Are we in danger?" I smiled at her and said, "No, not yet." Moments before, I had looked down at the gas gauge to see it bouncing from empty to 3/4 of a tank full. I couldn't get an accurate read, probably because of the massive waves in the water that made the boat rock violently. I immediately began estimating how much gas we had used and how much further we had to travel. As I was thinking, I began to feel fear. No gas, rough water, big waves equals boat sinking. I talked firmly with myself. Jodi, you have filled up with gas at this point, and you have gone this far, and should have plenty of gas to get back to the marina. When I surrendered the fear, I felt calm again. Throughout the next 2 hours, my mind would float from, "Oh no, this is bad," to "all is well." I am out of control as far as getting more gas in the moment. But I am an experienced boater. If we run out of gas, I am resourceful and I will find help. It was a choice I made to surrender at least 20 times as we slowly made our way back to land. Surrendering always brought peace. Please be honest, responsible, and humble as you assess for these characteristics of connection inside of you, and ask yourself what your motive is for engaging with each of these characteristics. If you choose motives and distortion, you will contaminate each of the characteristics of connection and create their counterfeits, such as pride, selfishness, control, resentment, lust, fear, distraction, unreasonable expectations, and self-neglect. If you choose to engage your motives in truth, the evidence of truth is that you want nothing in return from another. You will be desiring to give to others rather than take. Making choices in truth will be a gift you give to yourself and to others by reflecting light through living in honesty, responsibility, and humility. Okay, so now let's continue on. We're going to be moving to safety and trust. Has a little picture here. Let's see if you can see it. There you go. I mean, we're getting into picture book zone, okay? Okay. Most people desire to live in connection, yet don't appreciate the eternal laws that govern it. Honesty, responsibility, and humility are the foundational pillars of all connected relationships. Safety and trust are the outcomes of choosing to live in connection. In this world of people choosing to disconnect, safety and trust are hard to recognize. When people hear that connection is built of eternal principles of truth and that they are responsible to choose whichever direction, either in truth or distortion, many of them state, "What? So I have to perfectly choose honesty, responsibility, and humility every time in order to be in truth and have connection?" I invite them to recognize that these are eternal laws, and if people desire to be connected, they must also understand that safety is their responsibility to choose. Each of us is responsible to guard our safety mentally, emotionally, financially, sexually, physically, spiritually, and in all ways protect and boundary ourselves. Those of us who want to be safe people will assess our world, the people, experiences, outcomes of our own and others' choices through the lens of, am I choosing to think and act in safety? Am I emotionally safe? Am I physically safe? Am I financially safe? Am I spiritually safe? Am I socially safe? Another way to look at it is asking yourself the question, am I choosing to think, feel, and act in honesty, responsibility, and humility? When you live in connection, you welcome into your world what is safe and exclude from your world what is not. This creates boundaries. Creating emotional safety is a solo act. Your responsibility is to create safety for yourself and others. Are the beneficiaries of the safety you create. Safety and trust are the outcomes of you choosing to be honest, responsible, and humble, and you assessing for honesty, responsibility, and humility from the people in your world. Safety is the foundation upon which trust is built. You are required to be a safe person in order to be worthy of trust. You choosing to be safe doesn't translate into you demanding that someone trust you. I mean, this is just rich, y'all. I mean, seriously. The very nature of you demanding is not safe. I mean, it's like, I'm like, did the same person write this book? I mean, seriously, it's like she hired a ghostwriter to write this and didn't check the vibe check because she would see that she's none of these things. Okay, people will trust you naturally because they see the fruits of your life choices and recognize the characteristics of safety inside of those choices. Abuse, self-neglect, cynicism, acrimony, ridicule, lies, resentments, secrets, distractions, manipulation, fear, drama, control, lust, victimhood, irresponsibility, and dishonesty violate safety. She literally just named all the top words that I would use to describe her and Ruby. Attention, penitence, validation, faith, vulnerability, awareness, boundaries, empathy, risking, respect, honor, openness, responsibility, forgiveness, and honesty foster safety. You are responsible to embody all those characteristics to create safety within yourself, which lends itself to trust and trustworthiness. Emotional safety in a relationship means both people, and it does bullet points now, are aware of their own emotions, are honest with themselves and each other about their emotions, are responsible for their emotions and the outcomes of their choices, do not behave in ways that are demeaning or aggressive, emotionally or physically. Emotional safety means both people in the relationship are honest and personally responsible for their own thoughts, feelings, and actions, and do not do anything to intentionally harm, belittle, disparage, ridicule, slander, manipulate, or aggress against each other. Now remember this, remember all the people that are like, the dudes that were like, yeah, I wanted to speak out, but she had gone around to everybody and already lined up that I was like this horrible, crazy person that would be doing this and had like slandered my name. Again, this is the stuff, it literally just really pisses me off, y'all. It's like, I cannot stand seeing these personality types. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what she has, but she's got something that I'm talking about, Jodi, that literally just project their own issues into everyone around them and are completely incapable or unwilling to see that they inhabit all these things too. Let's keep going. So, for example, consider a woman who is not willing to speak the truth because she is afraid she will be punished by her partner when she gets home. So she lies and states she is in agreement with plans when she is not. This is an example of a woman not choosing to act safely because her lack of honesty and responsibility for the reality she is choosing to live in. It is also an example of the partner not being safe because he has indicated to his partner that he will retaliate if he feels provoked. Let me share a story of a husband and wife where safety and trust were obliterated and then rebuilt upon the internal principles of honesty, responsibility, and humility. This is a story of horrid lies, lust, and numbness. After 29 years of marriage, Raquel walked in on her husband and another woman in their bedroom. This was not where her pain began. Rather, is where her years of pain were vindicated. Raquel had felt something was off with their relationship for their entire marriage, but because of her own self-degenerating distortions, she was unable to identify why she felt crazy all of those years until this moment. When I met the couple, they were ready to divorce, each for different reasons. She had built up an animated support system of many men and women willing to demonize and vilify her husband, which only gave her temporary satisfaction. He agreed with their accusations that he was not worthy of much as a result of his horrific lifelong choices, most of which she still was unaware of. As their advocate, I was shocked by the peripheral narrative and sincerely curious as to how they were going to piece this relationship back together and what each of their motives were for doing so. After hearing 2 hours worth of details from both sides, it was eminently clear to me that they needed to physically take space from each other so they did not continue to batter and abuse themselves and the other. This space would offer them the opportunity to independently see their own choices, perceptions, and emotions and be responsible for all of them. As long as they were living in the same space, the abuse on both sides would continue. They both agreed, and that day he found another place to reside for a time. Now pause 1 second here. Now on the surface level, this could be completely true and whatnot, we don't know. But think about how many times every couple shared the same MO. They have to separate, the husband has to go elsewhere, and it's usually his fault, that type thing. Now oftentimes we do see in marriages when a couple splits, oftentimes the male will say go find another place or whatever, especially, with their kids. The kids are going to stay at home with the wife, like that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? So again, I'm giving Jodi the benefit of the doubt in this right here, that maybe this is true. But as I'm reading it, I'm just thinking of a couple of the dudes, and Kevin included, who it's like, oh, nope, here's the prescription. Everything's, Kevin or whoever, you're doing A, B, and C that's wrong. You need to leave the house. You need to go, but keep that money flowing. Keep that money flowing, especially to Jodi herself, right? You got to wonder how much these people were paying. Okay, let's keep going. Every day they each called their men's and women's group. See, literally, y'all, this is like just Jodi 101. Worked with their sponsors, educated themselves on the principles of truth, listened to educational podcasts, and practiced the precepts for their own personal responsibility. They learned about truth and distortion, control and surrender, what each one was and was not responsible for, how to create and hold boundaries, how to express vulnerability and validation, how to truly and thoroughly repent and forgive, and many other characteristics that would invite any wounded soul back into a place of peace and freedom. They realized that this was not a marriage issue, rather it was an individual one. Fast forward 2+ years, and each spouse was now ready to interact with their partner for the first time from a place of rigorous personal responsibility for their own thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. They both were fully immersed in their own process of repenting and cleaning up what they both were responsible for. As they met, it was the same two people physically, yet their spirits were completely different. They continued to say to each other, "You are so familiar to me, and yet I don't know you at all." They both were so humble, honest, responsible for their own perceptions, feelings, and actions. When they became triggered, they would ask for space and call and receive validation from the men and women who had been nurturing them back to truth for months. Both partners chose to be incredibly safe and every day continued to practice the principles of honesty, responsibility, and humility to create trust. Now again, I'm going to say this, I am sorry, but these are the most exhausting damn people I have ever encountered in my life, okay? I am all for therapy, okay? I'm pro therapy, I'm pro self-help, I'm pro all that stuff. This is another level. This is insane. I'm all for, I don't like superficial relationships and friendships and things like that. I need to have depth, I need to have conversation. This right here, I'm like, please, can we talk about the weather? You know what I mean? Can we tone it down? We need surface level with these people. It's like, these are the kind of people that if two people, if the couple were sitting on the couch and one of them was like, hey, I'm going to go to the fridge and get this, they would have to have a therapy session to talk about that act of going to get a beverage from the sofa, from the refrigerator. I'm sorry, I just think all things sofa, the channel, Roscoe. You know what I'm saying, though? It's like, these are the people where it's like, we need superficial, you're at a 10, we need you at a 1. You know what I mean? And I hate to sound that way, but again, I'm just like, this is exhausting. Especially when you realize that most of it's made up by Jodi. 10 years later, this couple is in a very safe and connected relationship where they are independently responsible for themselves. Their relationship is centered in truth, which means they each understand when one of them feels or perceives something. It is that person's responsibility to get into the truth around it. Instead of calling their support group for validation and truth, they now usually turn towards each other for validation and support. After 10 years of seeing, the evidence of thousands and thousands of choices and safety from each of them, trust has been reestablished. It is a remarkable relationship, one that was rebuilt from the ashes of destruction into the sweetness of truth and connection because two people were willing to each take personal responsibility for their own perceptions, feelings, and actions, and choose truth rather than distortion. Their choice to be willing to look at themselves is the sole reason for this beautiful union thriving once again. When a person or relationship is safe, you can express your thoughts and feelings without fear or retaliation. You are free to make mistakes without being attacked. All emotions are allowed, honored, validated, and respected. Differing perceptions, opinions, and perspectives are honored. Curious questions are asked. Your choices do not threaten the other person. There are no secrets and no dishonesty between the two of you. Both of you own your mistakes and repent and forgive swiftly. Grudges are not held. Both people are willing to risk, be open and vulnerable, and share validation. You feel relaxed, secure, and safe. When these characteristics are present, you can be yourself in the relationship. Consistent patterns over an extended time, months and even years, of honesty, curiosity, awareness, responsibility, respect, humility, openness, repentance, vulnerability, validation, and consistency create trust. And I mean, there's some truth in these things that they're saying. Like, obviously, in a relationship, you need to be validated by your person, right? You need to have that safety, that space of like, I can, have a different opinion or what. I'm not discounting the part of this that she's talking about, but it's the fact that it's coming from her, number one, right? Because we see how relationships have worked out with her, right? I mean, it's just like she's a train wreck. And obviously the things that she did to these children and other victims as well. So that's the part that I have an issue with. Also, it's just a level of, like I said, where it's like there's just not light, right? It's not like I'm simply going to the fridge to grab a beer. Do you want one? It's we need to have a 30-minute session, probably swipe your credit card for a few $100 to her. Again, that's at the center of this, because all I'm thinking of when I hear this is cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. 10 years of this with her? Oh, please. This is why she had that horrible house, right? Horrible it might be, expensive it was. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep going. Safety and trust are created as you practice living in impeccable honesty, rigorous personal responsibility, and vulnerable humility. Safety engenders trust. Trust creates connection. Connection is what makes life fulfilling, safe, liberating, joyful, present, meaningful, and exciting. I know many people I consider to be safe people. I know they are safe because when I interact with them or have observed them interact with others, they embody the characteristics of safety regardless of the circumstances. They are vulnerable, which means they are willing to keep every experience in truth and not distort it. They are very validating, which doesn't mean they always agree with me or my stance. However, they are curious about me and my perceptions and truly desire to understand me. I can count on them to be honest with me when I ask, "What do you think?" They will honestly tell me the truth regardless of how uncomfortable the answer is. They are personally responsible to manage themselves and don't attempt to control anything or anyone who is not within their responsibility to control. They also share how I am affecting them, which allows me to be aware of my words and actions toward them. They hold boundaries around themselves, which helps me understand what they believe and think and how they will act in any situation. These safe people are so easy to get along with because I can relax and be at ease with them. I know who they are and what to expect from them. Because they are constant and consistent, I love being with them. And I definitely feel loved because there is no pretense with them. These relationships embody connection, who you really are. In order to practice the 3 core foundational principles of honesty, responsibility, and humility and experience connection, you must understand that you are a being that is good, known, worthy, loved, cherished, valued, and seen and known by a power that is greater than you are. At your core, regardless of your past, your choices, your behavior, the traumas you have experienced, or anything that has been done to you, your soul is defined by spiritual characteristics. These characteristics are innate, and although you may choose to ignore, deny, or disconnect from them, these characteristics are who you really are. If you choose to reconnect, you will rediscover your divinity. The following characteristics describe the person you truly are. Honest. Your soul desires to be honest and accountable. Your soul loves to tell the truth at all times. Your soul experiences joy, feels liberated, and resonates in truth to whenever you hear, learn, experience, speak, or choose the truth. Responsible. At a core level, you are a being made to be responsible. You are accountable for every choice you make, and you are capable of, and let me turn the page, learning from your past choices and making responsible, honest, compassionate choices for change. You feel capable, empowered, trustworthy, and strong when you choose responsibility. Humble is the next one. Your spirit recognizes your desire to learn and experience the excitement and understanding something new. These are all experiences in the practice of being humble. Aha moments are great spiritual opportunities to be humble and teachable. Humility means you are willing to stay open and curious. Humility urges you to change your thoughts, paradigms, choices, and behaviors into truth and embrace your vulnerability. Spiritual. You are not simply a physical organism composed of carbon and water. You are not only a body, you are a spirit. You have been around for a long time, and you will continue to exist after your physical death. You're a child of God. You are having a temporary physical experience on earth as a soul, a spirit, and a body. Your spirit is responsible to control your body, rather than your body controlling your spirit. Your spirit is constantly in communication with heaven and is desiring to hear the instructions of the non-physical world. Physical. In addition to being spiritual, you are also physical. Your physical body is where your spirit resides. Your physicality means you experience your life sensually through your five senses and emotionally through the chemical responses in your brain, which produce the powerful emotions you feel. Your physical body means you are vulnerable to sickness, death, and all of your life experiences. Emotional. You are a being who feels. Your emotions give you powerful and crucial information about your experiences and how you have perceived them. Emotion is the power, the energy that enables you to experience gratitude, compassion, resentment, fear, joy, vulnerability, hatred, jealousy, enmity, validation, and all other emotions that are created from the perceptions you choose inside of your experiences. Emotion is the driver, the motivator to choose truth rather than distortion, or distortion rather than truth, that either connects you or disconnects you with self, others, and God. Empathetic is the next one. Although your physical body is not naturally attuned to the skill of empathy, your spirit is an expert. Little children, because of their relationship with truth, are naturally empathetic. Empathy is the willingness to be vulnerable and validating, primarily within yourself, secondarily with others. Being empathetic means being connected intimately with the experiences, feelings, and pain of self and others. Your soul delights in engaging in vulnerability and naturally empathizes as you choose truth. The next one is intuitive. You are a spiritual being who is full of insight, knowledge gleaned from your long existence prior to your birth and your innate state of connection with self, others, and God. When you have gut responses or hear your sixth sense, that is your intuitive self, your soul in heaven, speaking to you. It is your choice to hear your guidance from this place of intuition or ignore it. Free-willed is the next one. You are endowed with the ability and responsibility to make autonomous choices. You have the capacity not to be controlled or forced by anyone or anything. In other words, you are not a victim in life, but are capable of overcoming anything. You are a being of immense power. Your free will means you take part in your own creation. Through your own choices, you decide what types of physical and spiritual being you will ultimately become. Capable is the next one. You are a magnificent and creative being who has experiences you perceive. You perceive your experiences, think about them, feel about them, remember them, and choose either in truth or distortion from them. You are capable of creating and improving both people and things. You are capable of learning and expressing both emotionally and irrationally. You are capable of healing from physically, emotionally, and spiritually traumatic experiences. You are capable of anything you set your mind to, and more importantly, become. Vulnerable. Although you are highly capable, you are also vulnerable. While you can act, make choices, learn, etc., you are also vulnerable to the consequences of your choices, others' actions, to God, and to life experiences outside of your control. You can act, yet you cannot control outcomes for other people. I mean, that's a real rich one right there. You live in a state of acute vulnerability, which is a gift to you. Your vulnerability is your greatest gift in that it gives you a platform to practice choosing either in truth or distortion as you learn about how you want to spend your one precious life. Compassionate is the next one. I can't believe she put that one in here. In addition to a lot of these. Okay, your spirit delights in recognizing, supporting, and serving self and others with their needs and vulnerabilities. A person who lives inside of connection deserves to love thy neighbor as thyself, it quotes. Authentic compassion is an outcome of practicing rigorous honesty, personal responsibility, and humility. When people live in integrity, they are stable and centered with self and with God, and therefore available to give freely to others without an agenda. Compassion towards others flows freely, and they desire to understand and have concern for the vulnerabilities of others. Connected is the last one. Connection is a familiar and natural experience for a child. Children are born connected, which means they have no distortion in them. You hear people state, out of the mouths of babies, meaning a child has said or done something honest, responsible, or humble. connected. All people desire to experience the outcomes of being connected, yet don't know that connection is governed by spiritual laws of honesty, responsibility, and humility. So, there we go. She has explained those in thorough detail. So now we're at Chapter 3, Eternal Principles that Govern Connection. It is imperative that you understand that these principles are the building blocks, the foundational framework for any relationship that desires to be connected. Connection begins within you. Therefore, you are responsible to understand and choose to live the 3 core principles of honesty, responsibility, and humility to their fullest potential. You cannot create nor have connection any other way. For this purpose, I want to speak to you very clearly about each principle to illuminate the fervor and rigor that is necessary to engage in the experience and experience the fruits of connection. Well, Jodi, I'm sold. Let's go, girl. Can't imagine by the time I finish reading this book, if I'm starting to talk about I just joined connections. It all makes sense to me now. You know what I'm saying? Trust me, if it does, I'll throw a life raft and be like, please pull me in first, okay? Don't worry. Okay, so here we go. The first one is honesty. Okay, how is emotional honesty different from just being honest? Emotional honesty means you are personally responsible for your emotions, and that your emotions are a direct result of how you choose to perceive your experiences. Being emotionally honest also means that you are responsible to manage your emotions and not distort them. Distorting emotions means that you are choosing to be irresponsible for how, why, what you feel. You are projecting your feelings onto something or someone else, and that is not emotionally honest. What have I been saying this whole book, y'all? Projecting. And here they are talking about the exact key word that I'm using to describe them. Okay. And they're projecting on others. It literally, the headiness of it is taking me out right now. Okay. Anyways. The truth is, you are always responsible for the perceptions you choose in every single experience. You are also responsible for the emotional outcomes of what you perceived as they manifest inside of you. You are never responsible for the emotional responses or reactions inside of another person. Your choices can and do absolutely affect others, and you are not the cause of their interpretations or emotions. Your emotions are a big deal. Your emotions are the energy that drives you to perceive the way you do. Have passion around those perceptions and engage in behavior that validates that emotion. Therefore, it is critical to be emotionally honest with yourself and others. Many of us don't pay much attention to our emotions, and as an outcome, we aren't aware of why and what we are choosing to, let's flip the page, perceive. It can feel like our emotions are choosing for us and we can only react to them. Instead of being responsible and emotionally honest about them, we make many choices every day based on emotional reactions and never think twice about what we are doing, thinking, or feeling. How comfortable would you be if all of your thoughts and feelings were on display for others to see and hear? What would you look like if you were mentally and emotionally exposed? If you were vulnerable to others' view to know and evaluate your private thoughts and feelings, how would you choose? Would you be more responsible about what you give yourself permission to think and feel? Would you be more careful and deliberate about your perceptions and reactions? Would you be more empathic and understanding of yourself and others? Would you be less judgmental and angry? Would you be more patient? Would you ask more questions and stand in a place of curiosity rather than quickly evaluate, condemn, and sentence your victim? Would you be willing to truly love as God does? Being emotionally honest requires a nearly constant review of your thoughts, perceptions, feelings, agendas, motives, attitudes, beliefs, fears, moral expectations, and justifications numerous times throughout every day. You must learn who you are internally and not rely on your external expressions of what you do and what people think of you to identify your motives. Many of us are duplicitous and hypocritical. Well, you can say that again. Good God. We say one thing yet behave in contradiction to what we said. We mostly make these types of choices from a place of unconsciousness about what we choose to perceive and therefore choose to feel. And our behaviors only follow our chosen perceptions and feelings. Being emotionally honest is the best practice of exposing yourself in such a way that you are honest with all that you think, feel, and do. Emotional honesty means that all of your internal dialogue is up for self-examination. It means that you can begin to live a life where your inside dialogue of honesty matches your outside expressions of honesty. It means you don't live as a hypocrite because you are unconscious or because your private thoughts and feelings don't have a volume button for others to turn up and hear what you really think. Be congruous. Be full of integrity. Be authentic. Be mentally and emotionally clean and clear internally and externally. Again, would love to see them take their own advice, right? Would love to see that. Now, the next thing is responsibility. This one might take me out, y'all. I'm not going to lie. Rigorous personal responsibility is a constant, thorough examination of oneself. It is an attitude that says, I'm responsible for me. I'm responsible for what I think, how I feel, how I perceive what I want, how I choose to act, and what I choose to expect. It is my choice to respond to my experiences and create the outcomes I will have in life. Personal responsibility is multifaceted. It means you're emotionally honest, you feel and express your emotions, even the intense and uncomfortable emotions, and you are curious about them. You don't blame others for your feelings or try to avoid emotional discomfort. Personal responsibility means you meet your needs, your expectations, and your commitments emotionally, spiritually, and physically. You take care of yourself and keep the commitments you make to yourself and others. You show up consistently. Personal responsibility means you do not blame or shift ownership of your choices onto anyone or anything. Let's read that one again, Jodi. Okay. Personal responsibility means you do not blame or shift ownership of your choices onto anyone or anything. Literally how her and Ruby get through the day. Okay? And I'm talking down to some basic stuff. Okay? Like nothing is their fault, right? Nothing. Okay? Like everything is like somebody else's. Okay? This is just what blows my mind with this. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's keep going. I swear to God. We're going to keep going. Here we go. You practice making choices, intentional, aware, thoughtful, honest choices. And you are humbly willing to own, account for every choice you make and the outcomes that follow. When you make a mistake or choose to not follow through with a commitment, you identify how you affected yourself and others. And you make restitution and a plan to do all you can to never repeat the behavior. Again, they should make them read this out loud in court, okay? Or like to the rest of their cell or something like that, right? Because literally everybody would be cackling over this. It's just it's insanely hypocritical. Personal responsibility is a pattern of great honor and respect towards yourself and others. Responsibility connects you with yourself, other people, and God. Responsibility teaches you empathy and compassion for self and others. By being responsible, you learn how you affect others. Holding yourself accountable for commitments and choices matures your soul, teaches you to be honest, frees you from distorted thoughts, selfishness, and lust, and opens you to love, self, and others. Now the last thing, humility. I mean, my God, I can't roll my damn eyes hard enough over this one. Again, the common theme here is just that absolutely they do not take their own advice, okay? And I say they, but you know what I'm saying? I know Jodi wrote the book, but you know what I mean. Humility. Humility is an acknowledgement that there is something, truth, God, greater than yourself, and a willingness to align your will and choices to that reality. Humility is a choice to acknowledge and not take personally, go into distortion, your own and others' vulnerabilities, weaknesses, trespasses, and offenses. It is a recognition that I am the same as you. I am not better than or less than anyone else on the planet. A humble person examines behavior of self and others, desiring to understand and empathize. When you are humble, you are willing to give and receive feedback and change beliefs and behavior to match the truth. Humility is surrender, meaning you understand what you are responsible for and what you are not. Humility acknowledges and respects the power of choice within yourself and others, and desires to teach self and others if one desires to be taught truth. A humble person does not feel a need to fix or control others' problems or take over when someone else makes a choice they disagree with. Again, y'all, I cannot. Notice how I keep slipping into like this weird, almost like childlike, like yeah kind of voice. I just think that that's how they talk to themselves and convince themselves of this BS. You know what I'm saying? And again, it's not that it's I mean, I don't want to say this. Some of the basic stuff that she's trying to get across, obviously, yes, right? We can get, I mean, this is like the ABC 1, 2, 3 of life type stuff, some of this basic stuff. It's the fact that it's coming from her. Again, I'll say it 100 times in this. Now, she overcomplicates it because, I mean, some of this stuff is just simple, right? This whole thing about truth this, distortion that, but I mean, I'm like, honey, no, this is where she gets all extra. But again, it's coming from her. So it makes it like... A person has free will to perceive any way they choose, along with the responsibility for the outcomes they've chosen. These outcomes are the person's responsibility to own. Humility means you are teachable. Humility includes an openness and willingness to ask for help when you need it. In other words, it means acknowledging and fostering your ability to be emotionally vulnerable and open with other people. Humility is the prerequisite to emotional honesty and personal responsibility. Okay, now we're going to move to truth. Truth encapsulates these three principles. Truth requires that your thoughts, feelings, words, and actions are in accordance with being honest, responsible, and humble. In this book, the word truth is referenced many times. I mean, my God, take a shot for that one. Dear Jesus, we've already said it 3 billion times. We're on page 44. About halfway through the book, okay? We've said it literally. I mean, y'all, if we were taking shots, we'd be dead like 10 pages ago, okay? Anyways, truth is not an abstract philosophical concept, nor is it a general, meaningless, feel-good term. When I use the word truth, I mean something very specific. Truth is about the facts of human existence. Truth is constant and unchanging. Truth is eternal. The core truth in this book is that every living person has the power of choice. You and I have a choice in how we perceive, what we choose to think, and, well, what we say. What we choose to feel, what we do, and how we choose to live. Golly jeepers. She didn't say golly jeepers. But you know she wanted to. Okay, here we go. Living in truth means being impeccably honest, emotionally, temporally, and spiritually, rigorously responsible for your thoughts, feelings, and behaviors, and consistently humble and teachable. The last person you would ever think of being a teachable human being, and yet here she is. Again, I know I'm going to stop and say that over and over, but it's just, y'all, this is the part that gets me, is the fact that these words are coming from her mouth. I shaketh the booketh. Okay, here we go. Truth describes things that are internal, unchanging, concrete, and factual. Truths are empirical, measurable, and personal, and knowable by a third party. Truth is objective and cannot be changed by a person's perceptions, opinions, or emotions. Truth cannot be controlled nor altered because you or I desire to change it. And attempting to change truth means choosing to live in distortion. And attempting to change truth means choosing to live in distortion and denial, which brings about many maladies of mind, body, and spirit. Knowing what truth is enables you to distinguish between truth and distortion. If you are desiring connection, you must hone the skill of choosing truth and living in truth. Here are some statements of truth. Notice the factual, objective, eternal nature of these statements. Now, the way she does it is she has the book. I don't know if you can see it, but she lists them out. She's very big on lists. And like making multiple things, like a paragraph of like different words and verbs and descriptive words. It's really obnoxious. Okay. The truth, facts. The clouds are above me. I'm 5 feet 9 inches tall. I'm a core whore. I'm just joking. She didn't say that. If she said I'm a core whore in here, I would have fallen out. I would have been like, that's about the most damn truthful damn thing that she's put in this book. Okay. Today is my birthday. I cook the steak at 400 degrees. Tomorrow will come. If I jump off, I will fall. The car is blue. It is 75 degrees in this room. Today is June 5th. I am responsible for my thoughts and emotions. I was late to the meeting. I parked on the south side of the building. I am male-female. I will die someday. Being able to state the truth about your experience and existence creates stability and safety in your life. The purpose of this book is to teach you to live according to the truth, honesty, responsibility, humility, and simultaneously to connect to what feels true to you, your emotional experience. Being responsible for yourself and practicing self-care means connecting with your emotional truths. She meant something else there, I think. As well as knowing and living according to truth. Okay. Okay. I use the word true to refer to your internal experience. What is emotionally true relates to your emotions, perceptions, and opinions of any given experience. These perceptions are subjective, personal, changeable, internal, emotional, and not directly knowable by other people. Things that are emotionally true can and do change because your emotions and perceptions of reality change frequently. Notice how the following statements are subjective and reflect the emotions, perceptions, and opinions of the speaker. Again, it's another damn list, and it says true, parentheses, perceptions. The car is ugly. The room is uncomfortably warm. I'm having a great day. My emotions are uncontrollable. That meeting was stressful. There are a lot of clouds. I don't want tomorrow to come. I'm really short. My birthday is on the best day of the year. If I fall, I get hurt. The steak was cooked at a perfect temperature. The south parking lot is the best entrance, well, to the building. Okay, that's it. Understanding the difference between truth and true will give you immense clarity as you are scrutinizing each choice you make for truth. Knowing that there is only one path to truth, that you can find it through asking questions, is a breakthrough in the assessment of truth. All other choices are either distortion or true according to a person's perceptions. Just out of sheer curiosity, we're going to count the number of times in this one paragraph right here that she uses this word. So, truth, true, truth, 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 true. 6 times. Okay, just wanted to put that out there. Just that's all we're doing. It is your responsibility always, every time, to choose to live in truth. When you behave in ways that are contrary to truth, who you really are, you are creating conflict inside yourself, and you will begin to manifest emotional, mental, and physical symptoms. When you live by these principles of honesty, responsibility, and humility, you will live in a state of unconditional love for yourself, which you then desire to share with others. These principles may appear simple. However, once you appreciate the emotional and mental effort it takes to learn and activate them, you will understand why so few people choose to live in truth, even though doing so will heal them emotionally, spiritually, and mentally. Whoa, mama jama. Okay, so next is chapter. Now, we're not going to do this now. We're going to bring this one to an end because I need to decompress from that. Next chapter we'll start on the next time is chapter 4, What is Disconnection? That should be interesting. That's page 48. Now, altogether, there's 119 pages, but the last one's like a sales pitch for her thing. So we're looking at more like 117 pages. So we're about halfway there. We're getting there, kids. Just everyone settle down. Good Lord almighty. So again, yeah, I mean, I said this along the way and whatnot, but my biggest thing with this, in addition to my personal opinions about her crimes and that kind of thing, and the things that we've seen on the coverage that we've watched of, her behavior and the things that she did to the children and others as well in Jodi's case, it's shocking to read these things come from her mouth, and to then think I just go back to the courtroom appearance. Number one, if you compare Ruby's statement to Jodi's, which Jodi basically didn't have one, the judge even had to be like, has she come around to like maybe saying this isn't the kid's fault? You can see how she has twisted this to this was the kid's fault. We didn't do this. What did she say to the guy? We didn't cause those wounds on their legs. We put the tape there, but that was them who tried to get out and did that to themselves. We didn't do that. And that's where you're like, this is how you justify this. Right? And then her talking about almost giddy, almost like she's being sent to prison to minister from there, like it's a martyr type thing. Well, you see why she thinks that. I mean, everything is twisted around in that way. I don't know what to believe of what really happened to her and what she's been through and all that kind of stuff, but I do know that whatever she has lived through, she has seemed to translate that into harming other people on various levels, and various people from families to children to you name it, right? And so this book is fascinating to me in that way because I'm like, oh, I'm getting a clear picture of the bizarre world that they live in and what she's teaching and how easily she probably is able to find weak-minded people and manipulate them into thinking in the same way and just pushing off any accountability, anything like that, onto others and then victimizing these people. So let me know what you think. If you have sat through this, God bless you, okay? We're going to get Chad, they be able to give you a blessing for doing so. You're like, no, please don't. I promise I won't sit through another one. Roscoe thanks you for hanging out, though, for sure. He does ask that you throw some sofas down in the comment section. So he and I have a place to sit, talk about this case, this book, if you will, and other cases as well. And until we do mosey on down there, we'll talk to y'all soon. I just wanted to say thank you again for watching the whole video, and also thank you for being part of the Sofa Squad. Special thanks to all the Patreon members, channel members from both of my channels, everybody who likes, shares, subscribes, comments in the comment sections. It helps the channel out so much. Now don't forget, I do have that other channel, the podcast channel. That's where we go live, we hang out, we talk. We have kind of sort of a schedule, but just be sure and check it out. I'll put it up here on the screen. Also, if you're looking for merch, be sure to check out my Teespring store. I'll put that up here. And then, like I said in the beginning of the video, if you want to follow me and Roscoe on the Instagram, go on, check it out. It's right here on the screen again. But once again, thank you very much. I really appreciate you being part of the Sofa Squad, and I'll see you in the next video.